Hi, Kayla, and welcome to the Natural Birth Podcast. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am excited to be here. And yeah, I've got butterflies.
Oh, it is so beautiful to have you on all the way from South Africa. And obviously, I have actually kind of heard your birth story already because you are one of my Sacred Birth Worker mentees. And I can't wait for you to share the story, especially because there's such a high cesarean rate in South Africa. And I'm excited that you're on to share your story first and foremost. I'm really excited that you're my Sacred Birth Worker mentee and you are bringing something different to South Africa because it's so
Mm.
needed. And I know that you have your own plans of starting a podcast one day for South African women birthing naturally as well. So, like, plugging that already. So, if you listening to this, either interested in South Africa or are from South Africa, definitely check Kayla out and see what she's going to be doing in the next years to come. World, watch out.
Well, thank you for inspiring me, Anna.
Such a pleasure. All right. Well, no further ado, huh? Let's dive on into your birth story. Do you want to share with us? Because you became pregnant, and I want to hear about your conception story.
Mhm.
And you decided to do this mentorship when you were in the middle of your pregnancy or in the early days of your pregnancy. And you actually came on and you birthed like the first week of this mentorship. So there's such a huge story in all of this. So please bring us back to like conception. Was it a planned pregnancy for you?
So I think it was kind of planned. It was planned and unplanned in a way because I was actually studying in Melbourne, Australia, and my dad passed away just before that, and it kind of had me wanting to change direction. Everything kind of just felt like, okay, it's not resonating. I need to do something different. So I left Australia. I went traveling. And when I was traveling, I actually had a bit of like a romance. And a month later, I didn't get my period for a whole month. So I actually thought I was pregnant. And and when I found out I wasn't, I was really disappointed. It almost felt like heartbreaking that it wasn't true. So I think from there it was kind of like, or even possibly before that, because there was this calling to be a doula and to work with babies coming in. And yeah, it all kind of just linked together in that way. And on my journey home, it was just like this growing feeling of this soul calling to come in through me so that I can experience pregnancy and experience birth, so that I can come and support other women with their who are wanting to, yeah, birth physiology, birth naturally and physiology. Why can't I say it? Why can't I
Physio
say it?
yeah,
Physiologically.
physiologically, you got it in the end.
Physiologically.
Yes, you got it,
Uh,
girl.
my brain, my mouth, but it's okay.
Yes, absolutely. You're a breastfeeding mama of a little
Yeah,
baby. The brain doesn't
indeed.
always, compute the way it should. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, thank you for your acceptance. So then, yeah, I came back to South Africa and I knew I wanted, yeah, I, I was in love with a man since high school. And when I left for Australia, it broke my heart. And when I came back, I knew I wanted his babies. I wanted his baby. And I told him that many times. And it felt like it was time to make it true. So I told my mom and I told my sisters, and I made it very clear, like, hey, this is what I am feeling, and this is what's calling me. And I know it doesn't make any sense because I have no job. I just left Australia. My degree is halfway finished, and I'm deciding maybe to do it or maybe not to do it. And yeah, it was just a totally new path. And they looked at me like I was a bit crazy with love. And 3 months later, I fell pregnant, or consciously conceived in a sense, you know. So I still look back and I was like, yo, it didn't make sense, and it made sense because it was a calling. Yeah, it really was.
Wow, I love that. Um, and had you done a doula course as well, hadn't you, in South Africa?
So I did that when I was about, I think, 6, 7 months pregnant. And it was a short course. And I haven't exactly qualified either because you have to witness 3 births. And yeah, there's quite a few other things you have to do first. And I know you stand quite strongly with, qualifying, like it's not always necessary, which is true because it's a very masculine way of approaching it as well.
Well, to me, what I mean with that is like our world today still, but it's an old paradigm, is very hung up on certifications and
Mm,
diplomas. And myself, having gone through uni, where I really learned was sitting with women, was
mm,
attending births, was walking alongside midwives who had done this for longer. That's where my true school happened, my learning,
yeah,
right? The certificate that I have, for example, having done the uni degree, some of the things absolutely was good. A lot of it was bullshit. And that's a lot of
yeah,
the things, and like you can do these short doula trainings for a weekend or something or a week, and you can get the diploma and then you're like certified. What? This program you're going in, this is a 6-month mentorship with
yeah,
like all my midwifery knowledge and so much more baked into this. You get so much. And yes, you get a piece of paper at the end, but I don't certify you towards any institution or body because I myself don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. And it's not just because you have a piece of paper doesn't tell anyone anything. People should
yeah, it's
not
true.
employ someone, a midwife, an obstetrician, a doula, a sacred birth worker, just from a piece of paper. It should be from resonance, from the heart, feeling a connection, feeling alignment, you know? And so that's where I'm coming from when I say that certification is not important. I mean it in that way, that
Mm,
what's truly important is that and a woman who's pregnant, she employs someone that she feels resonance with. And
yeah.
you decided to do this mentorship after doing that doula training. What was that? Did you not feel like that doula training was enough?
I felt like because it was only a week, it definitely wasn't enough. And I think having someone like you to come back to asking for guidance, and yeah, it's needed. Over there it was kind of just like, okay, yeah, and then you're on your own. So I felt a resonance with your way of um I want to say teaching, and teaching doesn't always feel like it's like the right word. It's almost yeah, guiding. It was your guidance that I was attracted to. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kayla.
Oh, that's a pleasure.
So you did that doula training around 6, 7 months, and then that must have been the same time that you applied then for.
I think I applied a little bit after that, or yeah, it was around the same time because I did that and I was like, okay. That was anticlimactic. I would like something more. Um, so then I applied with you, and I was kind of back and forth. I was like, must I do this? Must I not do this? First time mom, postpartum, all the feelings I'm going to be experiencing. I have no idea it's all new. And you were like, well, Kayla, look at what you wrote. This is what you said to me, and read it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I have a deep yearning for this, and I'm going to approach it with love and asking my angels and whoever needs to support me and just trust. And
Yeah,
here I am. It's been 4 months
yeah.
since Azaya's been born, and I can definitely say it's been an up and down journey, and there's been support all around. Yeah.
I love that for you so much. And yeah, it's fascinating how you ended up actually birthing the first week of our mentorship as well.
Yeah. Because
So special.
he was a bit of a surprise because he came at 37 weeks
Which
instead
is,
of when, yeah.
yeah, and I love that so much. You're a first-time mom and you had your baby at 37 weeks. There's a lot of doulas out there and birth workers who are not on call for their clients until 38 weeks. And I've called
Oh,
some doulas on this and gone like, what's going on here? Like women are due, like their term month is 37 to 42 weeks. Now, if I have clients, I'll be like, I'm on call, then of course I'll come to the best of my ability at 36 and 43 weeks, right? But like some birth workers out there, and if anyone's listening, if you're employing someone, make sure they are there for you and on call the whole due month, because I get a bit, I don't
Yeah, it's
like that.
important. It's when you need the support in that last month. You know, you're looking for that support.
Yes. And also, as a woman, to be able to go into labor and birth, you need to know that your team is there for you. And if you go like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, well, I can't birth now because they're not on call until next week. Like,
yeah.
that's not okay. That's not cool. So if you're a birth worker doing this, I think you should revise the way you're working. Because look at Kayla. She had a baby at 37 weeks. So
First
let's dive on in.
time.
Yes, exactly. Let's dive on into your birth story. I love that.
Okay, so starting at the beginning, I guess the night before or the day before I gave birth, I went for a bit of like an energy healing just to clear because some conflict was happening and I didn't think it was going to happen soon because of that conflict. So I went and just wanted to, yeah, get everything together and clear my mind and clear my thoughts. And the person that I went to, he's a friend of mine. He was like, "Hey, you must prepare. This baby is around the corner. Like he's sooner than you expect." And it was that day that I kind of sorted out the room. I moved out a big desk from the birth room. And I think after that, I felt like, oh wow, whew, okay. Like there was this feeling of like, yeah, readiness. And then, yeah, I just had a relaxed evening and I went to bed. And then I woke up at around 2 in the morning and I felt like I had peed myself. And I think it was actually I was just really juicy, like you would say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was just really juicy because when I got up, there wasn't like, it wasn't, I wouldn't necessarily, it was, yeah, it wasn't much anything there. It just felt like there was a lot there. And when I looked, there was a tiny bit of blood, like a little bit of blood. So that could
Mm.
have been the mucus plug coming loose at that stage, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. The mucus plug is, that's slimy and it can be a bit of blood. It can also be that if it's just like a little bit of blood, it could also be that your cervix is starting to dilate, right?
Mm,
And yes, you get very juicy in the end. So sometimes that can also feel like a lot. And you go like, is it my waters? Is it not? And as I always say, smell it. If you smell
smell
it
it.
and it smells like semen, then it's your waters. If it smells more like sweet, like vaginal discharge, like it's more sweet smelling, um, then it's not, obviously. It has a
Okay.
quite strong smell, amniotic fluid.
Well, if it was an amniotic fluid and it was combined with the blood, what do you think would have been? Just
Just
discharge?
juicy. You just
Okay.
get very juicy. Your vagina prepares for weeks before birth. Like it just
Yeah.
becomes really, in the end can get swollen and just like really rich with blood flow. And it's preparing for birth because it's also preparing for
Yeah.
healing in case of a little tear. That's why the vagina just really puffs up and it just has so much blood and there's
Yeah.
juiciness and there's this, vaginal discharge that will lubricate, right?
Yeah, and I definitely noticed that in the appearance, like you do become puffy and almost,
Hmm.
yeah, just ripe.
Yes, so right.
So after that, I kind of like paced up and down a bit, looking myself in the mirror. Then I think I told my partner, like, hey, this is happening, something's going on. I laid down, and that's when I experienced like the cramping. I guess like you see it, then you think about it, then you start feeling it. Well, that was me. And then I just laid down. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna message the midwife and tell her what's happening, send her a picture, and just tell her that I'm gonna rest because I know I needed to just lie down. Nothing was gonna happen 2 o'clock in the morning for me, just how I knew it was gonna happen. So I laid down and I did my best to sleep, and that didn't really work out for quite a while. We just laid there in silence, twisting and turning and just breathing and anticipating what was to come. I was quite excited. And yeah, then eventually, I think it was like 5 in the morning, my partner got up, he took a swim because at that stage that was his routine. And I moved to the other side of the bed and did a bit of like movement on the bed, like some yoga. And yeah, then I passed out for a bit and woke up at 7. And I went to my mom and I told her, hey, okay, things have picked up a bit. I think it's gonna happen. And she was like, oh, it could still take quite a while. And I was like, oh, I don't know. So she was like, okay, well, go take a bath. And I was like, okay, that's a great idea. So went and took a bath. And I remember the doula told me that you must take a bath for at least an hour. And if you get out after an hour, then and the contractions have like stalled, then like don't contact me. It's not necessary just yet. It's fine. So then I did. I got in the bath and just chilled there for a while. My partner contacted the doula in anyways, and she asked him to time the contractions. And I was like, it's not necessary. Like, it's fine. Um, yeah, I could have just really, yeah, I could have just been left alone actually. And there was quite a bit of panic around me because my partner was like, oh, the bag isn't packed just in case you have to go to the hospital. And yeah, it was like very unprepared. So I think there was a little bit of like angst.
Yeah,
So
I totally understand that. And, when I have birth plan meetings around 34 to 36 weeks, I always say just prepare everything for 36 weeks, 37 weeks. Like, so when you hit the 37 weeks, you can just relax, everything's done. Because this is things, you can go into labor at that time. And a
yeah.
lot of people go like, oh no, I'll go to 40 weeks. Oh, I'll probably go to 42. And then they're so unprepared when they're birthing at 37, 38.
Yeah, so I guess as like my baby didn't need everything to be prepared, and
Yeah.
we felt okay for it to happen. It was just the situation. It's good to prepare just so you know that it's there if you do need it. So my partner was trying to get the bag packed and time my contractions and message the doula, message the midwife, and do all that stuff. And I was just chilling in the bath and in between timing my own contractions and just breathing because it was very manageable at this stage, very, very manageable. So when he asked if the doula like must come, I was like, no, it's not needed. Don't invite anyone. I don't want anyone in my space just yet. And then the doula was like, oh, I'll feel comfortable more like coming. And I was like, okay, well, so it
Hmm.
lands up,
I don't
she
like that
landed up
answer
coming.
from the doula. She should respect your choices. And if you say, like, if anyone's listening, if you say to your care provider, like, I don't even want you to come, they should not come. Like,
Mm,
even if you want to go, like, oh, actually, I'm just going to birth my baby on my own. Like, it's your choice. It's always your choice. It's not they feel comfortable. I don't like that answer. That makes me a little bit irritated.
yeah. 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 I
Mm,
agree. I agree. And definitely like the way I'll approach it, if someone has to tell me that, I would respect them and I would just, I guess, check in and make sure, because people can change their minds.
mm,
So yeah. So then she landed up coming around 8. So I was in the bath for an hour. When she said that she was coming, I immediately said, okay, I want to get out of the bath. I felt too vulnerable in the bath with her
mm.
coming. So got out, put on underwear and a large t-shirt and some socks. I feel like the socks are like, yeah, they were quite important during my labor process. And then I went and sat on my bed, kind of just like anticipating her coming into my room. And it definitely did like take me out of it a little bit.
Mm.
Um, so when she got there, she kind of just like checked me out and she felt my belly. And I guess I can't really remember what she did because I was on the bed for like also about an hour, just like chatting to her. But it was she was there, it slowed down. And then the next contraction that came was actually, it picked up. So I was actually quite surprised. My body was like, okay. It adjusted quite nicely to her being there. And things progressed. Yeah, it started get going. And then she suggested that I get up. And that was a good idea because she was in my space. It's almost like I didn't feel comfortable just moving and doing what I needed to do. So when she suggested that, it almost gave me a bit of permission to get up and move.
Mm.
So I kind of like waddled behind her because she suggested I move and kind of sway my hips to the side. And then when I experienced a contraction, I kind of just leaned over something, and I couldn't do that for very long. It felt like gravity was, it was too intense. I needed it to slow down. So I think at that point, I could be wrong, but I think I purged. I threw up, and then I was like, okay, I need to go back on the bed, because the bed was kind of my friend. It was
Mm.
like my safe space.
Yeah.
And I was like on all fours with the pillow, and I was kind of just leaning over it. And my partner was doing counter pressure, which I quite enjoyed. And at this point, I just went totally internal. I didn't really speak. I didn't make any noise. I think they were all just kind of looking at me like, what is going on? What is she feeling? What is she experiencing? Because I was just inside. Yeah. So I was on the bed and I was doing that. And then I laid on one of my sides. And then I laid like that for quite a while. And then I think I ate like maybe 1 teaspoon of oats. I couldn't stomach much. And yeah, I think, yeah, this was definitely when I think I saw a turn. Because at this point, I remember seeing purple, and I think it might have been yellow. I remember the purple for sure. And it was like this purple light kind of coming down. And yeah, it felt very psychedelic. Um,
Right. Yeah, sometimes that happens because of the hormones. It does alter your state of consciousness.
yeah. And this is
Yeah.
when my state of consciousness changed. I could feel that.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, so I was lying on the bed, saw the lights, and then at some point there was another flip. It was like, whoosh, and I knew that I needed to get up. And then I was on the carpet on all fours with a pillow under my hands. And at this point, the earth felt so heavy. Everything felt like it was just so heavy. Like I wanted everything to be made of pillows. I wanted it to be softer, you know? So I was leaning over the bed and I was on all fours. And then I became a bit more vocal. I asked for them to go get the birth ball so I could lean over it, because that like almost made it lighter, like gravity, something to hang over that wasn't a human.
Mm.
Um, yeah, then the doula did like this jiggly thing on me. And
Shaking
I,
the apples, it's called, with reboso,
yeah,
or was it with the hands or with a shawl?
I think she did it with her hands,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. Because there was a shawl or something over me because I was getting quite
Mm.
cold. Because my temperature was changing. I was getting hot, cold. I had a water bottle, and then yeah, then it would just change.
Sounds like transition.
Yeah. So yeah, I was on the ground for quite a while. And then I was like, no, I need to get back into bed. So I got back into bed. And this time I was lying on my other side. And which I think I was lying on my right side this time, looking that way. And this is when I called for, oh, this whole time the midwife wasn't there yet. My my mom and my younger sister had arrived when I was on the ground, and then my mom came and I was holding her hand. And then the midwife only came, I think, when I stood up to get back to the bed, because I remember looking at her and going, "Oh, okay, this is birth. This is what we've been seeing each other for." Because like you always like when I was there, I was like always wondering like what is it gonna feel like? And you ask questions and you don't really know. And when I made eye contact with her, I was like, yeah, okay. This is the experience of birth, huh? Um, and then I called her over and I was like, this baby's gonna come. And I think she interpreted that like I was about to crown or the baby was like descending. And that wasn't the case. I think I just meant that like I needed to move into the water because I was almost ready to start yeah, the pushing sensation was on its way. And then she asked, well, can I check you? And I was like super hesitant because I told her right through the pregnancy, like, I don't really want to be checked. It's not something I'm interested in. And because there were so many voices around me, my mom was like, well, maybe it's a good idea just so she knows. And I was like, well, here I am in this vulnerable state. And my mom
Yeah.
is like suggesting that I do. I was like, okay, it's fine. So They prepared the other side of the bed. They got like a plastic sheet and a bed liner. I was just contracting a bit on my side at that point, and yeah, and then when she was ready, they helped me over to the other side, which is like another thing. Like it almost felt like I needed quite a bit of support getting into another position at that point. And then I was on my back, which wasn't too bad. It was okay because I know like it can be uncomfortable contracting when you're on your back, and it was okay. And then when she started checking, I was like, no, please stop. I asked her to stop. And I think at that point, she had probably already felt. And no one said, like, oh, you're this much or that much. And I don't even think I asked. I was just like, please take your fingers out of me. And she did. And I think much later, like after the birth, the doula told me that I was 8 centimeters at that point. So I don't know,
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean anything. And,
Exactly.
it really goes to show, like, I really want everyone to know that, like, you just like you said, like you're in such a vulnerable state. And so suggestions from the outside really affects you. Like it's so normal, right? And especially when it's authority figure, midwife, mother, it's so easily you go like, oh, okay. Even when you have really strong convictions in yourself, like when you're in the birthing realm, you're the most powerful, but you're also the most vulnerable and suggestible. You're really the both things at the same time. It's very confusing to people to understand, when you're not
Yeah,
in it yourself. Like now which will be so
yeah,
amazing as well as a birth worker, having this experience
yeah,
that you had.
yeah, definitely. Because I can say, like, I had quite a few people in my birth room, and you know that,
Mm.
right? Because there was my mom, the midwife, the doula, my partner, my younger sister, my elder sister, and that's six,
That's,
leaving myself out.
yeah,
So
that's a
it's a
lot of
lot.
people. Yeah.
So it's incredible that my body actually just surrendered because
Yes.
yeah, because I'm actually quite not a shy person. I'm just a very private person.
Yeah.
So yeah, so thank you, body.
Amazing. Goes to show how amazing your body temple is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that it was kind of meant to be as well. Because looking back, it's just everything was perfect the way it was, even the things that I didn't want the way that it was. Yeah, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then to carry on, she checked me, and she stopped, and then I laid there for a bit, and I remember like grabbing onto the headboard, and this is when lying on my back was uncomfortable because it was like I was up holding up like this, contracting. And then all right, so while this was happening, they were getting the birth pool ready. Because that's why she wanted to check me, because I hadn't had the birth pool ready. So she wanted to know, is it even worth getting the pool ready? And I could have just told her, please just get the pool ready if I knew that was her logic. But it just been like, don't waste your time checking me, just prepare the pool. Because I
Yeah.
really wanted the water for support.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
again, I mean, I love your story, Kayla, and I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think it's such a important piece of thing, like wisdom here is like even home birth midwives, like even this is why, like again, like for everyone listening, it's so important that you interview a midwife and really tune in because still this patriarchal way of talking to women and seeing women goes into even home birth midwives' way of if you say my baby's coming soon, I want to get in the pool, that doesn't mean that you should be checked or needed to be checked. Like you should be
Yeah.
taken for your word. Women should be trusted. And this is just, I was just talking to a woman yesterday about her birth story and how she was in the hospital, which is even worse, but just the way that generally people speak to women and not trusting a woman's word. Like you're a sovereign being. If you say, I want to get in the pool, doesn't matter if you're 2 centimeters, get in the pool. It's your freaking choice. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I just wanted to
definitely.
say that there, like, freaking fruck, stop. Stop telling women what they can and cannot do and listen to women's voices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, I think I was struggling to actually express. So I said, the baby's coming. I don't
Mm.
know if I actually said I want to get in the pool. you know, so maybe it was also on me. Um,
Well,
perhaps I did. It's all a blur at this point.
yeah. Well, it's not on you, you know. As birth
Yeah,
workers, we need to follow the woman.
yeah.
Like, and that's
And
what you're learning,
also,
right? So deeply in this
yeah,
mentorship. It's like
it's true.
following the woman. No, she doesn't have to say things directly.
Mm,
Like, if you know physiology, you know when you're 8 centimeters, you're in your
mm,
different realm. You're not supposed to be in your neocortex discussing shit. You're
yeah,
supposed to just
that's fair.
move. And so the greatest thing a birth worker can do is to learn to read a woman's signs, to learn how to have a strong intuition, to tune into the
Yeah,
space, to feel the magic in the birth space. You don't have to communicate through words for that. Truly,
yeah.
believe me.
I believe that. I
Mm.
do. And I can't wait to experience that. It's
Yeah.
something I'm really looking forward to. Because you're right, it's almost for me, there was almost there was a it's like transition. There was a movement. It's kind of like, okay, now I'm going through this and then moving out of it and then into the next thing and then moving. And at that point, they knew that I wanted to birth in water. So the best thing would have been to support me into the water.
Mhm.
So yes, and yes, and yes.
Yes, yes. And your body was freaking amazing birthing, even though she obviously had a bit of those things happening throughout her
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
So then I had some support getting up. My partner was at the back, and I think my mom was helping me in the front. And that's when my waters released. I got up and it was like whoosh. So if I probably used gravity earlier, I think it would have sped it up quicker. And I think I knew that I needed to go slower.
Yeah.
Because if it went too fast, I think I would have gotten quite overwhelmed. And when I was on on the bed before, I was already, you know, when I said I was all internal,
Mhm.
like I think I was having a lot of self-crisis moments in my head. Like, am I going to be able to do this? If this is how it feels right now, how am I going to experience that later? And I know that I remember that the between contractions, it's almost like I didn't feel like I had much of a break because there was so much happening in my brain. Um, so yeah, breath is your friend.
Breath is your friend. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you know what? Faster is not better. Shorter
yeah.
labors is not better. I mean, we, again, I think we're so influenced by our fast-paced modern life, thinking that, right,
Mm,
and striving for that. But you did the right thing, slowing things down for you, listening to what you needed. Faster is not better.
yeah,
Mm,
it's true. It's true.
yeah.
So at that point when my water's released, I could definitely feel the pressure coming down. And then I kind of scurried to the pool because it was not in, like in a separate room. The rooms were joined. So there was like towels on the floor and I moved to the other room and I ripped off my clothes. They were off in like a second. I was just ready to get into that water. So got into the water and instant relief. It almost felt like I could, I could, I could almost handle what was to come.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it gave me a sense of relief, and I needed that sense of relief. That water was what I needed.
Beautiful.
So yeah. And at this stage, the pushing had already kind of taken over my because they always I know I've heard that people say or that it's said that um the pushing kind of happens, you're not doing it. And I experienced that. It's like your body is birthing. It's not your mind, it's your body. And it's incredible. Your body knows what to do. And I think, yeah, if I could just if I knew that before, there would have been so much more surrender because
Mm.
it is surrender.
Surrender. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a lot of people say, and I say that too, like it's like your body is vomiting from your vagina.
Yeah, actually, that's very relatable. Yeah, yeah, actually, the imagery of that is quite insane as well. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, at that point, I got into the pool. There was a bit of relief, and then the birth dance started happening. And I was just moving from one position to the other position to that position, crouching over, leaning back with my leg up, with my leg down. There was just a lot of movement happening. And now there was a lot of relief in between contractions as well. It's almost like it would come, it would be intense, then it would relax. And then sometimes a contraction would come and it wouldn't be so intense. And I could also relax. So it's almost, yeah, I'm just amazed how intelligent the body is, because it knows when and what to do.
Mm.
And I can't emphasize that enough.
Mm.
Yeah.
Here,
So
here. So intelligent.
yeah,
When left to be, doing her work, she does it beautifully.
yeah. So let me think. In the pool, moving positions. Um, I guess at this point I was exhausted. I was quite tired, Like even though the total amount of time that I would have been in the pool would have only been, I got into the pool, I think around 10 to 11, if I looked back at my notes, and he was born 11:37. So I wasn't in the
Mm.
pool for very long, and I think that part of my labor felt the longest. And I remember asking and looking outside at this point, because I was quite vocal and breathing and using my voice quite a bit. Lots of low sounds, lots of low sounds. And I remember asking my midwife, and I think this is why it's important to have a wise woman around. I remember asking her, like, is this normal? Is this feeling normal? Because it almost feels too intense and too powerful sometimes.
Yeah,
And just knowing that it is natural is
yeah.
really reassuring.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, and she was like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. This is how it's supposed to be. And yeah,
Yeah.
birth is something else. It's
It is
incredible.
intense. It's definitely the first time too when you don't know what to expect. It is, I think, the same, just like you, that having someone who's seen so much normal and
Yeah,
abnormal, just sitting there watching you going like, yeah, you're fine. You're doing it.
yeah,
You know, it's
exactly.
all that you need. And it's so normal to look out of your, to look outside of yourself. It's a normal thing in labor to happen, sometimes a few times, through the labor process, in transition, when we're like potentially feeling restless, no position works. Like it sounded like you had that moment of like getting up, getting down, like just moving around and nothing works because you're in transition. So nothing will work. And then you shift into pushing and then you're like, oh my God, what is this? And then,
What is this?
and then also, I want to add that being tired is also a physiological thing in labor,
Oh, I
right?
didn't know that.
It's not pathological. So, it's something that, I've had so many women snoring in between bearing down contractions. Like when she's pushing out a baby during that potential hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes for a woman, sometimes shorter, to push out a baby. Like she'll have a bearing down, then she'll just lean on the side and she'll snore. Like she'll be so in deep trance, sleepy state.
Oh,
And then she
wow.
wakes up and she has, that really bearing down like, that you had as well. And then she goes back to sleep and has like 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes of sleep in
Oh,
between those
wow.
contractions. Yes. So again, sleepiness is not pathological. Being tired, yes, of course, it's a marathon. And I mean, you had a very kind of good length of birth for the first time, right? Sometimes you go for days, right? And of course, that's a different kind of tired, but also it's like it's a part of the process for most women to feel
Yeah.
dozy and even sleepy. Hmm.
Yeah. So it was almost, for me, it almost felt like exhaustion. So how am I actually going to get through this? And then
Mhm.
also, yeah, it's not you getting through it. It's just happening. It's going to happen. It's going to
And
be okay.
if you think about it physiologically again, if you're really like you go like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted, you don't have a lot of brain power to think, catastrophic thoughts either. It's almost like,
That's true.
so it's
Yeah.
also, isn't it a good thing? It's supposed to like just
Yeah.
cut that brain activity out, just make you super sleepy and dozy and just do your thing. Just let the body take over because she's doing it, right? You weren't.
Yeah.
You weren't. She was doing it. You didn't have to
Yeah.
find any power. It was just happening through you. So it doesn't matter how
Exactly.
tired you are, you can still
Yeah.
birth your
Yeah.
baby. Mm.
Yeah. 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 Sorry, all the yes.
So many light bulb moments going up. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then I think, what can I say about that? So there was exhaustion and also quite a bit of cramping. I remember my legs were cramping and I was like, my doula was giving me tissue salts while I was there. Like,
That's good.
so yeah. Um,
Because, like, let's face it, also, you've been working out for a long time.
yeah.
So it's quite normal to have that happen sometimes during labor, that you get some cramping in your legs and stuff. So it's good to have like good labor aid drinks and
Yeah, it's
magnesium
true.
and, tissue salts and those things. Because I mean, hallelujah, you've been like up and down and here and there and squatting and on your, if you would do that not birthing a baby, you would have stopped that long ago because that's exhausting, right?
Yeah, that's true. So I think hydration is quite important. And I found
Mm,
myself reaching for sugary stuff as well, just to
mm,
get my energy up.
brilliant.
Yeah. And then I remember lying on my side at one point because I said that it was like so restful in between because I was tired. So I was lying on my side and then I think the midwife was just kind of feeling, which I was okay with at this point. And I was like, is this baby even coming? Like I needed proof. I needed to actually, because my mind couldn't comprehend it. It felt like it was just happening and happening and happening. And it wasn't so long. It didn't take that long and it felt very long. And I even asked baby, I was like, please just come. Like, like I'm getting to the point where I need you to come out. Because yeah, you just get to that. Well, I got to that point. I can't speak for other people. Um, yeah, and I think throughout the whole labor, I also forgot the reason why it was happening. Like I knew I was in labor, it's just I forgot that there was a baby there. And that's something that the doula supported me with. She was like, remember your baby, you connect to your baby because there's purpose to this.
Mm,
It's gonna get somewhere.
mm.
So yeah, so then when the midwife felt, she put my hand there and she was like, here, feel your baby. And this is a video I posted on the mentorship as well.
Mm.
Um, so I felt and I was like, oh wow, the head is right there. And that brought quite a bit of relief because now you can feel it and almost you can just put a physical to it.
Yeah,
And I took my partner's hand and I had him feel as well. And it was just a moment of like, wow, like that's incredible.
yeah.
And at this point, I was lying on my side, on my left side with my leg open. And I think I had a few contractions here where he was like coming in and coming out, coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. And then I felt I needed to move. So I was on all fours and I said something. I just can't remember what I said. And then the midwife was like, you're doing so well in that position. And I was like, I'm just so tired. Like I couldn't be in that position because I was cramping. So then
Yeah.
I moved on to all fours. And this is another thing. Like I don't want to be like, like speak badly about the doula. It's just I was watching the video and she was like, okay, but then move back. I'll support you. You put your weight on me, move into this. And I was like, so went, huh? Like I didn't understand a word she was saying, like what position she was trying to get me into. And then somehow I moved, and then that's when I landed up kind of like in a squatting position with her behind me. And I think if her voice and other people's voices weren't there, I don't
Mm.
think, which is hard to say because it happened the way it happened,
But it's true.
and I don't think I would have landed up having him in the position that I had him in because there was outside voices. Because at this point, then I was squatting, and so yeah, and I definitely experienced like the ring of fire. That was a very unpleasant feeling for me. It's uncomfortable and it scared me quite a bit. And
So
yeah,
normal, so normal. And
yeah,
this is what, you know, you mentally have to prepare for, like the ring of fire. Most women will feel it, not all, but most. And like, how can I in this moment face that fear, you know, the fear, the pain, the fear of tearing, and surrender and open? Because this is the
yeah,
moment where we do not want to hold back, right? We don't want to tighten our tissue. We want to
yeah,
release the
release.
baby and be relaxed. But it's so hard, right? Because you're feeling like the opposite, going, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
And I think throughout I was like, how is he actually gonna fit? You know, and like your body does make space because I tore, which I was super disappointed about. I remember looking at because I was squatting, I could kind of see and I was looking over. And as
Mhm.
his head came out, I saw it and I swear I could even hear it. I was like, it happened. And I looked at the midwife
Mm.
and I was like, I tore. Are you gonna have to stitch me? And she was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna have to look. I can't tell you that. So then, you know, it was okay because I didn't really feel the tear. Wait,
Yeah,
I don't think I felt it. I
no.
think I saw it and I heard it because there was so much other sensations happening there. Your body almost blocks out,
It
or
does,
my
because
body blocked it
that's what
out.
happens when you have the ring of fire. Um, well, when you have the crowning, whether you have the fire feeling or not, um, the tissue goes, you know, white,
Mm,
um, where it tears. And so there's like there's numbness in that, you
yeah.
know, because I guess that's nature's way of protecting you.
Mm,
And you know, having a bit of a tear happens for, you know, about 50% of women. It definitely depends on what position you are, but it also is just that for some it happens, for some it doesn't. Depends on the, yeah, just your tissues, the baby's position, your position, and just we're all just so different, right?
yeah.
And in saying that, we are amazing at healing. Our vaginas, again,
Yeah.
at birth, as I said, swells up so full of blood, which is what heals. Blood flow is what heals. It brings the healing properties to
Yeah.
the scar, or I mean to the tear, and you know, and it heals together. The squatting position
Mm,
is a very, you know, that is a position that does increase the risk of tearing because it just puts
mm.
so much pressure, even in the
Pressure.
water. It just
Yeah.
still, you know, you're spreading your legs in a certain way, you're putting pressure down in a certain way. So, you know, we will never know if you were in a different position following
Mm,
your impulses and your body and not someone else's guidance. Maybe you
yeah.
would have had a tear.
Yeah. And I remember something else I remember is the amount of pressure that I felt in my bum. It
Yeah.
literally felt like he was going to come out of my bum
Yes.
and not out of my vagina.
Yeah.
And I think that was also quite surprising. And at one point, the midwife and the doula were both like, I was getting frustrated and it felt like he wasn't actually coming out. And looking back, I know that I could have just intuitively just went with it and let my body do it because it would have just taken the time it took.
Mhm.
And their suggestion was actually like with the next one, kind of push harder, which
Oh.
I don't think is necessarily right either. Because I've spoken to quite like, I don't know, feeling in, not even speaking to other people. If I feel in, it's kind of pushing will happen how your body needs it to happen. And I guess in certain circumstances, there is a need for a little guidance. And I think in this case, I wish that they would have just said, you're doing great, just follow your body. And I think always bringing it back to the woman because she
Yes.
knows, she's
Yeah.
experiencing it.
That's
And I
it.
think when they said that I wasn't pushing correctly, that also gave me a little bit of a like a crisis of confidence.
Of
Because
course.
is there a wrong way to push?
There's definitely a more effective way, and one way of pushing that is with your tummy muscles cleansing against.
Mm,
And that's why you shouldn't be pushing at all. you should just rest and allow your body to do it because your body's vomiting out your baby, right? We just talked about. So when you go
Yeah.
to your head and you start to try to push, that's
Push.
where you
Yeah.
potentially can do quote unquote wrong. And I'm not
Mm.
saying it's wrong, but you know what I mean? Like you can work against your body. So for example, when I say, at that crowning phase, don't push, breathe,
Yeah.
allow your body will push for you. That's what I'm saying. So when I say don't push, your body will push. I mean,
Mm.
you don't use your muscles and push. You just allow the force to come through you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas what you experienced was them saying, oh, push harder. So let your body push,
Mm.
but then also push with your tummy muscles and your will. And then you're
Mm.
adding, first of all, you're adding pressure that might definitely not be needed. But also that does increase your risk of tearing because again,
Mm.
like our bodies are so intelligent and you will know
Yeah.
the position that feels most comfortable for you. Being actually lying on your side like that or being on all fours does bring more blood flow to your vagina and to the perineum, decreasing the risk of tearing. So
Very.
you were in positions that actually felt good to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think when they were guiding me to push, it was a little bit before I was crowning. Because when I did crown, she said push, and I was like, no. I said,
Great.
I was like, no, I have to wait.
Mm, love
I,
that.
yeah, I need to wait. And then his head was out a little bit, and I still asked her, is this okay? Like, is it okay for his head to just be there?
Mm.
And then she was like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. And then on the next one, I think she just kind of held his head because my partner thought that she was helping to maneuver his shoulder. And I was looking at the video, and she was actually just kind of there by the head to like kind of support him as he came out. And yeah, and then his head was out, and then his body was kind of like the swishing kind of sound, like and then yeah, he was brought up to my chest, which was amazing.
Mm.
And yeah, yeah, it was quite a moment. And then I sat in the water for quite a bit, and I was like, well, it wasn't even that long, and I was like, can I please get out of this water? Like, I don't want to be in this water anymore. And then they helped me out, and I got out and held the baby to my chest with them kind of putting um a pad, like a, what is it? Like a
Mhm.
pad of some sort, like a bed pad, a bed, bed liner in between my legs so I wouldn't leak everywhere. And then I moved back to the bed, and as I was just lying on my chest. And something also that I'll do differently next time is I didn't birth my placenta by myself. She
Mm.
kind of like tugged it out a bit, and it came very easily.
Mm.
Like my mom touched the cord, and other people touched the cord, but there was like a whole discussion around it. And then she was like talking, and then she pulled it out very nicely into a bowl. And she still showed my younger sister, "Oh, this is where he was inside." So it was all very nice. It just felt like it went a bit too fast at that point for me,
Mm.
which is okay as well, because,
Yeah.
safe. Yeah. And then also when the placenta was out, she said that she was gonna tie it off and cut. And I was like, well, isn't it too soon? And she's like, no, it's out, the blood flow's done. And my mind couldn't comprehend that just yet. I was like it didn't make sense that it was moving so quickly. So then before I knew it, she had cut.
Mm.
Oh no, she gave the scissors to my partner to cut. And then, yeah, and then he was weighed and put back on my chest. And he did a bit of a birth, like a crawl, but he never really managed to latch by himself. So he did that for like about like 45 minutes, and then we helped him to latch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
think that's quite the story.
That is quite a story. Wow. So in all, how long was your labor? You started at 2 a.m. and
Two
you
in the
had your
morning,
baby. Yeah.
11:37.
Wow. So around 9.5 hours.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say the beginning part really felt like much labor, like it was very,
Mm.
for me, it felt like active for about 4, when I was on the
Mm-hmm.
bed, moving around in the pool, then birth, that felt like 4, but in total, it felt like 9.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
would probably be what both the midwife and if you had had a hospital birth, they would say, oh, it was a 4-hour labor and birth because they wouldn't really
Yeah.
count the first kind of hours where you're in those early.
Preparing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but who cares? It's whatever you
Yeah,
feel that it is. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, that was a quite a fast first birth. And it also, I mean, you're a young woman, you're a young, healthy woman. Usually, the younger you are, not young, like still in a good
Yeah.
age. Like I don't mean like young as super duper young, teenager young, but when you're in your age, in your 20s, you birth usually smoother and easier. It's just how we were kind of made to birth, I guess, in that age. So when
Age
we're
gap or
supposed to
group.
have yeah, that's when we're supposed to have our babies now. Obviously, today it's past usually 30, like it's the normal,
Mm,
new normal. Evolutionary, that's not past that, it's not the greatest time. It's definitely in our 20s
yeah.
that we're kind of optimized to have the smoothest labor and birth
Yeah.
experience. But wow, what a story.
Yeah. I remember thinking like, yo, I don't want to experience this again. And like now I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, like I could do it again.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling, actually.
Yeah. What did
Yeah.
you learn from this experience that you would like want different potentially for next one?
Patience.
Mm.
Like it was challenging in the moment because I kind of just wanted to get the pain over and done with and to get him out. And looking back, I think if I had more patience and it sounds challenging to enjoy it, but like to just enjoy it because it is gonna pass. And I'm sitting here, I'm not experiencing the pain, so it's easy to say that now. But yeah, I'd like to have more patience with myself.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you did an amazing job birthing your baby. Now, if you had a first-time mama in front of you right now who's about to have her first baby and she really wants to have a natural and empowering birth experience, what advice and pearls of wisdoms would you give to her?
I would say, oh, I could give quite a few. I would say, I think envision your birth from start to finish. Like, even if it doesn't happen that way, just know what you want from the experience. Because I think I kind of got to a point of before the pushing phase, and then I stopped envisioning from there. And if I just kind of continued, it's kind of like then you almost have more confidence in yourself because you're more assured of what you want and what you need. And obviously, it can change because, nothing's set in stone. It's
Mm.
just, yeah, just almost knowing and
Mm.
seeing and envisioning and feeling
Mm.
the birth that you want.
I love
Yeah.
that. There's a saying of if you can, see it, you can believe it, you can experience it. It's something like that. And it's so true. Whether it is like, watching videos of what you want or actually watching it inside of yourself, like in your inner third eye, like inner vision, seeing that over and over again. I do believe that. And I think science agrees with that.
Mm.
So I love that.
Yeah. And another thing is think about your postpartum because it's
Mm.
such a raw time. And for me, I invited people in too quickly. There's too many people, and being able to just say no, or even discussing that with people before saying, this is where I stand. If I change my mind, that's fine. This is where I stand, kind of thing for
Mm.
now. So
Mm.
think about your postpartum from start all the way to postpartum for 3 months postpartum kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Beautiful advice. Thank you so much, Kayla, for coming and sharing your birth story.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me. This has always been a dream. From when I started listening to your podcast, I was like, ah.
Oh, gorgeous. Well, thank you so much, Kayla. And I can't wait for you to become a sacred birth worker and start attending birth.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
going to
going
be
to be incredible.
oh, so amazing to see you blossom into that.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for listening. If you love this podcast, then please consider sharing it, leave a review, or make a contribution on our Patreon page. And if you want to connect on social media, then find the podcast on Instagram as the Natural Birth Podcast. Thank you for listening.